city or idle. The glories of the past were still intact. Rome was largely spared the far more devastating bombardment that was suffered by such industrial centers as Milan and Turin, partly because Pope Pius XII begged the world not to destroy the city. But to all eyes, it appeared in most every way exactly what it was: a defeated capital, the seat of a vanquished empire, staggered, battered, bloodied. And yet there were signs of vitality, and even sparks of brightness. In and around that rubble, a small group of filmmakers who had been active before the war created brave new works that explored the human struggles of the moment, actually got right down into them, and painted them with vigorous respect for realism, with honesty and empathy. Their movies put a new face on a bruised nation, and almost incidentally, launched a new type of cinema that would become common the world over. They were bona fide bohemians, freed of the overbearing yoke of fascism, creating demi-mondes in bars, cafes, and studios tucked into the center of the city. Painters and sculptors and poets and novelists and musicians who had kept the flames of art kindled through the war, however dimly, and were ready to stoke them into a fire of making and sharing and being seen and heard and read. There were other creators of elegant and stylish things to wear, because it was Rome and Italy, and how one looked mattered, as it always had since togas were the fashion. You could always, but always, count on a Roman at least to try to present a bella figura, a beautiful form, even when everything else in his or her life was a wreck. There were renegade lifestylists, people who were intent on bringing to Rome some of the vitality that had invigorated Paris and Berlin and New York in previous decades, but who had been stifled by moralists and black shirts and the Catholic Church, aristocrats and rebels and avant-gardists, often from other countries, other worlds, with a shared passion to avoid the usual thing and to embrace the sensual, the iconoclastic, the daring. And there was a small clutch of young men with cameras and flashbulbs, freelance photographers whose depictions of the city and its people and its extravaganzas and its crimes and its sensations, and, most of all, its celebrated visitors, were greedily gobbled up by a media culture that, too, was operating with new vigor now that the pall cast by Benito Mussolini and his fascist censors no longer loomed. In the first years of Rome's recovery from the war, these claques of innovators and strivers and revolutionaries worked on parallel, independent tracks. Even those with an eye focused on more than one of them couldn't see that they would soon converge. From that vantage, it wasn't readily evident that there was a crescence, that something new was being created in more than one nook of the city or the culture, that there would soon come a blending, a catalysis, an explosive knocking together of people and projects and incidents from all of these areas of activity into a single cultural moment. A boom. But it would happen, and all within a few square miles of the city, in its watering holes, studios, hotels, cafes, courthouses, dark rooms, and famously, on one tree-lined boulevard mostly noted theretofore for being a place where very little worth noting ever happened. The things that would be done and made, and especially photographed in Rome in those years, would transform the city, at least in reputation, from the symbol of a vanquished empire into a font of new and enviable energies, artworks, ways of living. It was a relatively sweet and naive time when it was something of a novelty to peek into the actual private lives of celebrities, as opposed to the public relations versions of their lives. When widely imitated ideas and tastes in everyday fashion came from the workshops of clothing designers. When the shooting of a movie could be an event in and of itself.